Hey everyone, I'm Joey Haber from the Flying Tortoise Academy in Portland, Oregon. I am a professor in the Brazilian martial art Capoeira, and I've been doing a lot of Capoeira work in my most recent videos. So I just wanted to give you all a brief breakdown of the most basic Capoeira movement, the Ginga. Ginga is the mobile stance of Capoeira. The name literally translates to sway, so like you're swaying back and forth on the wind, right? Just going side to side. The footwork is pretty simple, but it takes some time to get used to. I start with my feet together, step back. I want to make sure there's space between my legs like this. I don't want to stand on a tightrope. There's no balance here. I step up, switch legs, and so on. So when you're working on your Ginga, this is a great place to start. You can put on Capoeira music if you have it, or any other music that you like, and then just step in time. 1, 2, 1, 2. The hand movements are the same as walking down the street. Legs back, hand forward, just like I'm walking down. It's a cross-body movement, not a same side movement, okay? And so I'm here, right hand forward, right leg back. I step, I switch hands and feet at the same time, step, switch at the same time. Notice how I never leave my hands down for a moment. That leaves my whole body exposed to taking a hit. Instead, it's just an even movement. 1, 2, 1, 2, side to side. You can go as slow as you need. The front foot is flat on the ground. The back foot is up on the ball of the foot. This enables my back leg to be more springy. It helps me to launch from movement to movement, okay? Once you get comfortable with the basic Ginga, the basic side to side move, you can add in some simple variations. You can shuffle step to the side, shuffle step to the other side. You can change directions on 90 degrees. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Go the other direction. Back leg leads. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I can carry that in a circle. All kinds of fun little variations you can sort of mix in as you get more used to playing in this stance, okay? So give Ginga a try. Capoeira is a marvelous art form. I have been training in it for almost 20 years. It's really one of the most joyful things you can do with your body. The time to get into it is a bit longer than most styles because, again, everything comes from that mobile stance. And so if you put time into your Ginga, everything else builds from there. So if you dig on these Capoeira movements, I do in my most recent videos, just spend a few minutes on Ginga every day, just 2 or 3, build a basic familiarity with it, and it'll make the whole thing a lot more fun. All right? Thank you all so much. Today we're going to do another video focused on Capoeira because I love Capoeira and I kind of want to mix them in for all of you Kung Fu folk to see how the two styles can complement and build off each other. Cross-training is always good for athletes, and Capoeira offers a view into martial arts with angles and patterning that is really completely unique to the style. So I highly recommend playing with this form. It is an absolute blast, and it will really change the way that you look at movement and two-person interaction. All right? I hope you all enjoy it.
Rise. But the sun did not rise again. Every kind of timepiece indicated that the time for sunrise had passed, but the horizon remained dark in every direction.
Hip circles.
10 hours later, there was still no sign of the sun, not even the slightest hint of dawn. The endless night lasted through a whole day, then 2 days. Coldness now pressed toward the earth like a giant hand. Inside the pyramid, King Wen knelt before King Zhou, pleading. My king, please continue to have faith in me. This is but temporary.
Change directions.
I've seen the yang of the universe gathering, and the sun will rise soon. The stable era and spring will continue. Let's begin to heat the cauldron, King Zhou said, and sighed. Oh, king! A minister stumbled through the cave-like entrance into the great hall. There are 3 flying stars in the sky! Those in the great hall were stunned. The air seemed frozen. Only King Zhou remained impassive. He turned to Wang, to whom he had never deigned to speak before. You still don't understand what the appearance of 3 flying stars means, do you? ShuiJiao, why don't you tell him? It indicates the arrival of a long period of extreme cold. Cold enough to turn stone into dust. King Wen sighed. King Zhou again chanted in that strange, otherworldly voice. Outside, people had already begun the process. They turned themselves back into dehydrated bodies to survive the long night that was coming. The lucky ones had time to be stacked in the dehydratories, but many were abandoned in the empty fields. King Wen stood up slowly and walked toward the cauldron over the roaring fire in the corner of the great hall. He climbed up the side and paused for a few seconds before jumping in. Perhaps he had seen the thoroughly cooked face of Fu Si laughing at him from the soup. Keep the fire low, King Zhou ordered, his voice weak. Then he turned to the others. You may exit if you wish. The game is no longer fun after it gets to this point. A red exit sign showed up above the Great Hall's cave-like entrance. Players in the Great Hall streamed toward it, and Wang followed the crowd. Through the long tunnel, they finally emerged outside the pyramid. Heavy snow falling through the night air greeted them. The bone-chilling cold caused Wang to shiver, and a display in a corner of the sky indicated that game time had sped up again. The snow continued without pause for 10 days. By now, the snowflakes were large and heavy, like pieces of solidified darkness. Someone whispered next to Wang, "The snow is now composed of frozen carbon dioxide. Dry ice." Wang turned around and saw that the speaker was follower. After another 10 days, the snowflakes turned thin and translucent. By the weak light from a few torches within the entrance to the long tunnel, the snowflakes gave off a faint blue glow, like pieces of dancing mica. Those snowflakes are now composed of solidified oxygen and nitrogen. The atmosphere is disappearing through deposition, which means it's near absolute zero above. Snow gradually buried the pyramid. The lowest layers were composed of water snow, then dry ice, and finally on top, snow made of oxygen and nitrogen. The night sky became especially clear, and the stars glowed like a field of silver bonfires. A line of text appeared against the starry background.
Change directions again.
The long night lasted 48 years. Civilization number 137 was destroyed by the extreme cold. This civilization had advanced to the Warring States period before succumbing. The seed of civilization remains.
Change directions.
It will germinate and again progress through the unpredictable world of three-body. We invite you to log on in the future. Before exiting the game, Wang noticed the 3 flying stars in the sky, revolving closely around each other.
Shaking it up.
They seemed to perform a strange dance.
Right, next up, Jenga.
The abyss of space. 8. Yeah, Winxia. Wang took off the V-suit and panoramic viewing helmet. His shirt was soaked with sweat, as if he had just awoken from a nightmare. He left the research center, got into his car, and drove to the address given to him by Ding Yi, the house of Yang Dong's mother. Chaotic era, chaotic era, chaotic era. The thought turned and turned in Wang's head. Why would the path of the sun through the world of three-body be devoid of regularity and pattern?
And shuffle.
Its orbit is more circular or Its motion around its sun must be periodic. Total irregularity in planetary motion is impossible. Wang grew angry with himself. He shook his head, trying to chase away these thoughts. It's only a game. But I lost. Chaotic era, chaotic era, chaotic era. Damn it, stop! Why am I thinking about this? Why? Soon, Wang found the answer. He had not played any computer games for years, and the hardware for gaming had clearly advanced greatly in the interim. The virtual reality and multi-sensory feedback were all effects he had not experienced as a young student. But Wang also knew that the sense of realism in three-body wasn't due to the interface technology. He remembered taking a class in information theory as a third-year student in college. The professor had put up two pictures.
All right, turning.
One was the famous Song Dynasty painting along the river during the Qingming Festival, full of fine, rich details. The other was a photograph of the sky on a sunny day, the deep blue expanse broken only by a wisp of cloud that one couldn't even be sure was there. The professor asked the class which picture contained more information. The answer was that the photograph's information content, its entropy, exceeded the painting's by 1 or 2 orders of magnitude. Three-body was the same. Its enormous information content was hidden deep. Wang could feel it, but he could not articulate it. He suddenly understood that the makers of three-body took the exact opposite of the approach taken by designers of other games. Normally, game designers try to display as much information as possible to increase the sense of realism. But three-body's designers work to compress the information content to disguise a more complex reality, just like that seemingly empty photograph of the sky. Wang let his mind wander back to the world of three-body. Flying stars. The key must be in the flying stars. 1 flying star. 2 flying stars, 3 flying stars. What did they mean? As he had that thought, he found himself at his destination. At the foot of the apartment building, Wang saw a graying, thin woman, about 60 years old. She wore glasses and was struggling to go up the stairs with a basket of groceries. He guessed that this was the woman he had come to see. A quick greeting confirmed his guess. She was Yang Dong's mother, Wenxia. After hearing the purpose of Wang Miao's visit, she was grateful and appreciative. Wang was familiar with old intellectuals like her. The long years had ground away all the hardness and fierceness in their personalities, until all that was left was a gentleness like that of water. Wang carried the grocery basket up the stairs for her. When they got to her apartment, it turned out to be not as quiet as he had expected. 3 children were playing, the oldest about 5, and the youngest barely walking. Yet told Wang that they were all the neighbors' kids. They like to play at my place. Today is Sunday, and their parents need to work overtime, so they left them to me. Oh, Nan, have you finished your picture? Oh, it looks great. Shall we give it a title? Ducklings in the Sun. Sounds good. Let Granny write it for you. Then I'll put down the date. June 9th. By Nan. And what do you want to eat for lunch? Yang, you want fried eggplant? Sure. Nan, you want the snow peas like you had yesterday? No problem. How about you, Mimi? You want some meat? Oh, no, your mom told me that you shouldn't eat so much meat. Not easy to digest. How about some fishy instead? Look at this big fishy Granny bought. Wang observed and the children, absorbed in their conversation. She must want grandkids. But even if Yang Dong were alive, would she have had children? Took the groceries into the kitchen. When she re-emerged, she said, Xiao Wang, I'm going to soak the vegetables for a while. She had slipped effortlessly into addressing him by an affectionate diminutive. These days they use so much pesticide that when I feed the children I have to soak the vegetables for at least 2 hours. Why don't you take a look in Dong Dong's room first? Her suggestion, tagged on at the end as though it was the most natural thing in the world, made Wang anxious. Clearly, she had figured out the real purpose of his visit. She turned around and went back into the kitchen without giving Wang another glance, and so avoided seeing his embarrassment. Wang was grateful that she was so considerate of his feelings. Wang walked past the three happily playing children and entered the room that Ye had indicated. He paused in front of the door, seized by a strange feeling. It was as if he had returned to his dream-filled youth. From the depths of his memory arose a tingling sadness, fragile and pure like morning dew, tinged with a rosy hue. Gently, he pushed the door open. The faint fragrance that filled the room was unexpected, the smell of the forest. He seemed to have entered the hut of a ranger. The walls were covered by strips of bark. The three stools were unadorned tree stumps. The desk was made from three bigger tree stumps pushed together. And then there was the bed, apparently lined with sedge from northeast China, which the locals stuffed into their shoes to stay warm in the cold climate. Everything was rough-hewn and seemingly careless, without signs of aesthetic design. Yangdong's job had earned her a high income, and she could have bought a home in some luxury development, but she chose to live here with her mother instead. Wang walked up to the tree stump desk. It was plainly furnished, and nothing on it betrayed a hint of femininity or scholarly interest. Maybe all such objects had been taken away, or maybe they had never been there. He noticed a black and white photograph in a wooden frame, a portrait of mother and daughter. In the picture, Yang Dong was just a little girl, and Ye Wenxie was crouching down so that they were the same height. A strong wind tangled the pair's long hair together. The background of the photograph was unusual. The sky seemed to be seen through a large net held up by thick steel supporting structures. Wang deduced that it was some kind of parabolic antenna, so large that its edges were beyond the frame of the photograph. In the picture, little young Dong's eyes gave off a fright that made Wang's heart ache. She seemed terrified by the world outside the picture. Next, Wang noticed a thick notebook at the corner of the desk. He was baffled by the material the notebook was made of until he saw a line of childish writing scrawled across the cover. Yang Dong's birch bark notebook. Birch was written in pinyin letters instead of using the character for it. The years had turned the silvery bark into a dull yellow. He reached out to touch the notebook, hesitated, and retracted his hand. "It's okay," Ye said from the door. "Those are pictures Dong Dong drew when she was little." Wang picked up the birch bark notebook and gently flipped through it. Ye had dated each picture for her daughter, just like she had been doing for Nan Nan in the living room. Wang saw that based on the dates on the pictures, Yang Dong was 3 when she drew them. Normally, children of that age are able to draw humans and objects with clear shapes, but Yang Dong's pictures remained only messes of random lines. They seemed to express a kind of passionate anger and desperation born out of a frustrated desire to express something, not the sort of feeling one would expect in a child that young. Ye slowly sat down on the edge of the bed, her eyes staring at the notebook, lost in thought. Her daughter had died here, ended her life while she slept. Wang sat next to her. He had never felt such a strong desire to share the burden of another's pain. Ye took the birch bark notebook from it and held it to her chest. In a low voice, she said, "I wasn't good at teaching Dong Dong in an age-appropriate manner. I exposed her too early to some very abstract, very extreme topics. When she first expressed an interest in abstract theory, I told her that field wasn't easy for women. She said, 'What about Madame Curie?' I told her Madame Curie was never really accepted as part of that field. Her success was seen as a matter of persistence and hard work. But without her, someone else would have completed her work. As a matter of fact, Wu CiXinLiu went even further than Madame Curie, but it really isn't a woman's field. Dong didn't argue with me, but I later discovered that she really was different. For example, let's say I explained a formula to her. Other children might say, "What a clever formula." But she would say, "This formula is so elegant, so beautiful." The expression on her face was the same as when she saw Pretty Wildflower. Her father left behind some records. She listened to all of them and finally picked something by Bach as her favorite, listening to it over and over. That was the kind of music that shouldn't have mesmerized a kid. At first I thought she picked it on a whim, but when I asked her how she felt about the music, she said that she could see in the music a giant building, a large, complex house. Bit by bit, the giant added to the structure, and when the music was over, the house was done. "You were a great teacher for your daughter," Wang said. "No, I failed. Her world was too simple, and all she had were ethereal theories. When they collapsed, she had nothing to lean on to keep on living." Professor, I can't say that I agree with you. Right now, events are happening that are beyond our imagination. It's an unprecedented challenge to our theories about the world, and she's not the only scientist who has stumbled down that path. But she was a woman. A woman should be like water, able to flow over and around anything. As Wang was about to leave, he remembered the other purpose for his visit. He mentioned to Ye his wish to observe the cosmic microwave background. "Oh, that. There are 2 places in China that work on it. One is an observatory in Urumqi. I think it's a project by the Chinese Academy of Sciences Space Environment Observation Center. The other is very close by, a radio astronomy observatory located in the suburbs of Beijing, which is run by the Chinese Academy of Sciences and Peking University's Joint Center for Astrophysics. The one in Urumqi does ground observation, and the one here just receives data from satellites, though the satellite data is more accurate and complete. I have a former student working there, and I can make a call for you." Yeah, found the phone number and dialed it. The ensuing conversation seemed to go smoothly. "You're all set?" Yeah said as she hung up. "Let me give you the address. You can go over any time. My student's name is ShuiJiao, but he's going to be working the night shift tomorrow. I don't think this is your field of research, right?" "I work in nanotech. This is for something else." Wang was afraid that Ye was going to ask more questions about why he sought this information, but she did not. "Xiao Wang, you look a bit pale. How's your health?" she asked, her face full of concern. "It's nothing. Please don't worry. Wait a moment." Ye took a small wooden box out of a cabinet. Wang saw from the label that it was ginseng. "An old friend from the base, a soldier, came to visit me a few days ago and brought this. Take it. It's cultivated, not very precious. I have high blood pressure and can't use it anyway. You can slice it thinly and make it into a tea. You look so pale that I'm sure you can use the enrichment. You're still young, but you have to watch your health." Wang accepted the box, warmth filling his chest. His eyes moistened. It was as though his heart, stressed almost beyond the breaking point by the last few days, had been placed onto a pile of soft down feathers. "Professor Ye, I will come visit you often." 9. The universe flickers. Wang Miao drove along Jingmi Road until he was in Miyun County. From there, he headed to Heilongtang, climbed up the mountain along a winding road, and arrived arrived at the Radio Astronomy Observatory of the Chinese Academy of Sciences National Astronomical Center. He saw a line of 28 parabolic antenna dishes, each with a diameter of 9 meters, like a row of spectacular steel plants. At the end were 2 tall radio telescopes with dishes 50 meters in diameter, built in 2006. As he drove closer, Wang could not help but think of the background in the picture of Ye and her daughter. But the work of ShuiJiao, Ye's student, had nothing to do with these radio telescopes. Dr. Sha's lab was mainly responsible for receiving the data transmitted from 3 satellites: the Cosmic Background Explorer, COBE, launched in November of 1989 and about to be retired; the Wilkinson Microwave Anisotropy Probe, WMAP, launched in 2003; and Planck, the space observatory launched by the European Space Agency in 2009. Cosmic microwave background radiation very precisely matched the thermal black body spectrum at a temperature of 2.7255 K and was highly isotropic, meaning nearly uniform in every direction, with only tiny temperature fluctuations at the parts per million range. ShuiJiao's job was to create a more detailed map of the cosmic microwave background using observational data. The lab wasn't very big. Equipment for receiving satellite data was squeezed into the main computer room, and 3 terminals displayed the information sent by the 3 satellites. Shah was excited to see Wang. Clearly bored with his long isolation and happy to have a visitor, he asked Wang what kind of data he wanted to see. "I want to see the overall fluctuation in the cosmic microwave background." "Can you be more specific?" "What I mean is, I want to see the isotropic fluctuation in the overall cosmic microwave background between 1 and 5%, he said, quoting from Shen's email. Shah grinned. Starting at the turn of the century, the Miyun Radio Astronomy Observatory had opened itself to visitors. In order to earn some extra income, Shah often played the role of tour guide or gave lectures. This was the grin he reserved for tourists, as he had grown used to their astounding scientific illiteracy. "Mr. Wang, I take it you're not a specialist in the field?" "I work in nanotech." Makes sense. But you must have some basic understanding of the cosmic microwave background." "I don't know much. I know that as the universe cooled after the Big Bang, the leftover embers became the cosmic microwave background. The radiation fills the entire universe and can be observed in the centimeter wavelength range. I think it was back in the 60s when 2 Americans accidentally discovered the radiation when they were testing a supersensitive satellite reception antenna." "That's more than enough," Shah interrupted, waving his hands. "Then you must know that unlike the local variations we observe in different parts of the universe, the overall fluctuation in the cosmic microwave background is correlated with the expansion of the universe. It's very slow change, measured at the scale of the age of the universe. Even with the sensitivity of the Planck satellite, continuous observation for 1 million years might not detect any such shift. But you want to see a 5% fluctuation tonight? Do you realize what that would mean? The universe would flicker like a fluorescent tube that's about to burn out." "It will be flickering for me," Wang thought. "This must be some joke from Professor Ye," Shah said. "Nothing would please me more than to discover that it was a joke," Wang said. He was about to tell Shah that Ye didn't know the details of his request, but he was afraid that Shah would then refuse to help him. "Well, since Professor Ye asked me to help you, let's do the observation. It's not a big deal. If you just need 1% precision, data from the antique COBE is sufficient." As he spoke, Shah typed quickly at the terminal. Soon a flat green line appeared on the screen. "This curve is the real-time measurement of the overall cosmic microwave background. Calling it a straight line would be more accurate. The temperature is 2.725 plus or minus 0.002 K. Well, the error range is due to the Doppler effect from the motion of the Milky Way, which has already been filtered out. If the kind of fluctuation you anticipate, in excess of 1%, occurs, this line would turn red and become a waveform. I would bet that it's going to stay a flat green line until the end of the world, though. If you want to see it show the kind of fluctuation observable by the naked eye, you might have to wait until long after the death of the sun.
I'm not interfering in your work, am I?
No. Since you need such low precision, we can just use some basic data from Kobe. Okay, it's all set. From now on, if such great fluctuations occur, the data will be automatically saved to disk.
I think it might happen around 1 o'clock a.m.
Wow, so precise. No problem, since I'm working the night shift anyway. Have you had dinner yet? Good. Well, I'll take you on a tour. The night was moonless. They walked along the row of antenna dishes, and Shaw pointed to them. Breathtaking, aren't they? That's too bad that they're all like the ears of a deaf man.
Why?
Ever since construction was completed, interference has been unceasing in the observational bands. First, there were the paging stations during the 80s. Now it's the scramble to develop mobile communications networks and cell towers. These telescopes are capable of many scientific tasks, surveying the sky, detecting variable radio sources, observing the remains of supernovae. But we can't perform most of them. We've complained to the State Regulatory Radio Commission many times, never with any results. How can we get more attention than China Mobile, China Unicom, China Netcom? Well, without money, the secrets of the universe are worth shit. At least my project only depends on satellite data and has nothing to do with these tourist attractions.
In recent years, commercial operation of basic research has been fairly successful, like in high-energy physics. Maybe it would be better if the observatories were built in places farther away from cities.
It all comes down to money. Right now, our only choice is to find technical means to shield against interference. Well, it would be much better if Professor Yao were here. She accomplished a lot in this field. So the topic of conversation turned to Yao Winxia, and from her student, Wang finally learned about her life. He listened as Shaw told of how she witnessed the death of her father during the Cultural Revolution, how she was falsely accused at the Production and Construction Corps, how she then seemed to disappear until her return to Beijing at the beginning of the 90s, when she began teaching astrophysics at Tsinghua, where her father had also taught, until her retirement. It was only recently revealed that she'd spent more than 20 years at Red Coast Base. Wang was stunned.
You mean those rumors?
Most turned out to be true. One of the researchers who developed the deciphering system for the Red Coast project emigrated to Europe and wrote a book last year. Most of the rumors you hear came out of that book. Many who participated in Red Coast are still alive.
That is, a fantastical legend.
Especially for it to happen during those years. Absolutely incredible. They continued to speak for a while. Shaw asked the purpose behind Wang's strange request. Wang avoided giving a straight answer, and Shaw didn't press. The dignity of a specialist did not allow Shaw to express too much interest in a request that clearly went against his professional knowledge. Then they went to an all-night bar for tourists and sat for 2 hours. As Shaw finished one beer after another, his tongue loosened even more. But Wang became anxious. His mind kept returning to that green line on the terminal in Shaw's office. It was only at 10 to 1 in the morning that Shaw finally gave in to Wang's repeated pleas to go back to the lab. The spotlights that had lit up the row of radio antennas had been turned off, and the antennas now formed a simple two-dimensional picture against the night sky, like a series of abstract symbols. All of them gazed up at the sky at the same angle, as though waiting expectantly for something. The scene made Wang shudder, despite the warmth of the spring evening. He was reminded of the giant pendulums in 3-body. They arrived back at the lab at 1. As they looked at the terminal, the fluctuation was just getting started. The flat line turned into a wave. the distance between one peak and the next inconstant. The lime's color became red, like a snake awakening after hibernation, wriggling as its skin refilled with blood. It must be a malfunctioning Kobe. Shaw stared at the waveform, terrified.
It's not a malfunction.
Wong's tone was exceedingly calm. He had learned to control himself when faced with such sights.
Power go up for 5 minutes?
Well, not soon enough, Shaw said.
Okay.
He went to the other two terminals and typed rapidly to bring up the data gathered by the other two satellites, WMAP and Planck. Now, 3 waveforms moved in sync across the 3 terminals, exactly alike. Shaw took out a notebook computer and rushed to turn it on. He plugged in a network cable and picked up the phone. Wong could tell from the one-sided conversation that he was trying to get in touch with the Urumqi Radio Astronomy Observatory. He didn't explain to Wong what he was doing. His eyes locked onto the browser window on the notebook. Wong could hear his rapid breathing. A few minutes later, a red waveform appeared in the browser window, moving in step.
All right, everyone. PG has turned the power off to do some repairs outside, so that there ends today's lesson. Hope you're all doing great. I will post more tomorrow. Take care.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Can't quite spin with you. Yeah.
What's next? One switch or 2?
2. Awesome. And back the other way. Yeah. So there's your phalange. Step in. Coming all the way around. Coming through. And back out. Step in. Nail cross up all the way around. Good. Go. Good. Mark it, baby. Step in. Nail all the way behind. Yeah. Cool. You're gonna do